Hey everybody, welcome back to our backcountry aircraft camping build. Today we're going to be focusing on the most important fundamentals of this, and that is power, heating, and cooling our tent at the campsite. You've probably seen a lot of videos where we're talking about this is going to be an all-electric camping build. Well, what we mean by that is we want to be able to do induction cooking. We want to be able to heat the tent with AC and diesel. We want to be able to air condition the tent. All those really cool things that make us feel as comfortable as we are at home. Now, I will say I'm a purist. I love having a campfire. I like going out into the wilderness and cooking on a gas stove and the things that we really enjoy about being outdoors. But what we're trying to do is push the envelope in this build and see if we can take some of the newer technology and actually create a camping aircraft that makes things really simple to just jump out and go on a campsite, get it comfortable enough where our wives and friends want to come along or the kids want to come along. Make it simple and easy to set up camp, start cooking, and enjoy the outdoors. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about lithium batteries, not lithium ion. So stay with me as we go through this. And we're also going to talk about lithium ion safety. But in this video, we're going to talk about some newer technology that I think is groundbreaking with only one company so far in the United States that supplies it, that makes this a whole different experience. We're also going to be talking about heating our tent. Now, we also have some things to go over when it comes to air conditioning your tent, but that's not a lot of what we do. Most people are going to take a fan or just enjoy being out there, but we don't like being cold when it's 20 degrees or even below zero. So we're going to focus mainly on heating the tent with power and diesel heaters and kind of go through the pros and cons, the different models, and things you really need to know about if you're going to take these heaters to a campsite. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into power, how we're setting this aircraft up, the differences in the new technology, battery safety, solar power, and really just talk about how to manage your power when you're camping. Now, everything I'm going to talk to you about today in aviation, we've learned from our years in overlanding and RVing and camping. You can go over to E3 and the other brands. And if you're into overlanding and off-roading and camping, you're going to learn a lot from this episode, even though we're focusing it on aviation. So we have a different issue that we have to think about when it comes to building power, solar, and batteries into flying. We're going to be focusing more on the aviation side, but all you guys over in E3 Overland and E3 camping and off-roading and stuff, you know, you can definitely use this setup. So let's start with talking about how we're going to support this lithium and solar system in the aircraft. If you watch the videos on when we went to the factory and picked up the plane, you'll remember that we had some special features installed in the aircraft at the factory. One is there's a switch up in the front panel here that's called accessory. That switch comes off of a separate bus called an accessory bus that we had installed that drives to that switch. And then that switch from here goes back to midway point in the aircraft. There's wires that go back to midway point. Now those wires are going to go back and go to this DC to DC inverter, which is a 9 to 35 volt 50 amp. Now keep that in mind when I talk about 50 amp, because when we get into power and what we can legally pull off the alternator and stuff like that, that's going to come up. Now from here, we have wires that then drive this lithium battery. Not lithium ion, I'll get to that in a second. And then from there, that gives us the ability, when we're flying to 2 to 3 hours to a location, it will be charging this lithium battery so it's full when we get to our campsite. Now when we're at the campsite, we will have solar panels. These are 200 watt solar panels, so two 200 watt solar panels that when we're at the campsite will be also charging it. So during the day at the campsite, we're not flying and not charging it. These will charge the lithium battery. We have some other lithium batteries with our ICECO fridge that goes in the aircraft and some other things. I'm going to talk about those in a minute because this is still lithium ion. So I want to talk about lithium ion safety when we're flying and stuff. This is the heart of our system. This is new technology. It's called a solid state battery. This is from Yoshino out of California. So I'm going to say the technical name of this battery, but I'm only going to say it once because that's about all I can do. It's nickel manganese cobalt oxide. In short, NMC. Now, it's really considered a solid state battery. And it's very different than a lithium ion battery. This battery doesn't have the liquids and things that you have inside a lithium ion battery that can leak, that can have thermal meltdowns. I'm going to go through all the pros and cons of the two because there's way more pros to it, but there are some significant differences. This is a game changer for flying in an airplane from a safety standpoint, from a power standpoint. Now, I'm going to lift up a 500 watt-hour battery here in a second and show you the difference. This is a B2000. It's not quite 2,000 watt-hours, but it's way more than 1,000. That's a 500, and the thousands are a little bit bigger and things. That gives you a little bit of idea of the weight on these. That's 500. This is over 1,000. It's much lighter than lithium ion. It's much safer than lithium ion. You have no thermal runways on these batteries. You can screw right through this battery and you will not get a thermal runway the way you would with lithium ion. The life cycle on these is significantly more. You can typically get 5,000 plus charge cycles out of this, where most of the other batteries are in the 1,000 range. The temperature range that you can utilize these batteries and still have power is a huge difference, and why it's important for us when we go to altitude and we're camping, or we're camping when it's snowing or it's cold out. On these solid state batteries, you can go to -4 degrees and all the way up to 140 degrees. And in some cases, they're testing these in the military, solid state batteries, 350 degrees for 30 minutes, and you still get power and they still run. You cannot do that with a lithium ion battery. If you get down into the teens, you'll be lucky if you even still have power coming out of a lithium ion battery. Higher energy density, you saw how light and small these are compared to a battery with the same kind of power that's going to be heavier and bigger. So that is another thing why we needed this technology in this aircraft build. Much faster charging on these. These have speed charging, and there's things you can do with these batteries you can't do with lithium ion. So you can plug these into a wall, hit a button on the app, and have it fast charge in 45 minutes and have this thing fully charged. Typically, you can't do that with lithium ion. There are some newer batteries that are driving that, but they're still over an hour to drive a 1,000 or 2,000 watt-hour battery. Again, I talked about there's no risk of leakage. There's no electrolytes in this compared to lithium ion. So if it cracked, if you dropped it, if you got a screw or something goes through it, that's gonna leak, it's gonna have problems. Or if it's not stored properly, you're gonna have problems with it. You don't get that with the solid state batteries. So all of this makes it safer for transportation in aviation. No flammable chemistry in it. These can handle vibration, humidity, they can handle the cold, the heat, and even one of the more important things is these will run at higher altitudes. So you can be up in 15 to 17,000 feet and still get power out of these. And even more so, better battery performance at those extreme ends. So you're gonna get good performance out of the battery all the way down to very low versus being very high. You don't get that with lithium ion. They start to stag as you get into those bell curve ends on the battery. Now this particular Yoshino battery, it's not quite 2,000 watt hours. It's I think somewhere around 1,400. But even at 1,400, it's way lighter, way safer than even the 1,000 amp hour batteries that you see out there from different companies. So again, weight issue that we're addressing. Now, if I want to be out for 2 or 3 or 4 days and just be camping, electric camping for 2 or 3 or 4 days, now I have to kind of decide, where do I pull levers? If I don't have solar, then I have to make some adjustments on how I'm going to use the battery. Or maybe I bring on other batteries, like with our ICECO, which is really great. We've got an ice cold cooler going in the aircraft. This is a lithium ion battery that you can get with your ICECO. This here alone ran this ICECO freezer for a couple days and we didn't even have to touch it. So I have to now decide, well, do I want 2 of these if I'm going out for 3 or 4 days, or 1 of these? Do I have enough solar? Maybe I take an extra solar so I have 3 of them versus 2 of them, or do I have a couple of small batteries running a couple of my other things here? So you've got some things to think about based on how you're gonna camp. If I don't have a weight issue and I don't want lithium ion going with me, well, maybe I can take 2 of these with me in the aircraft. Now, if I'm only going out for a night and I only do 1-night trips, or a Saturday night or something like that, typically you just get away with just taking this. If you're cooling your tent, well, now you might have to think. Some of the small ACs that come out for overlanding and RVing and stuff have a little lithium ion battery on there. So you could be charging this during the day with your solar panels that go to this, and then this charges that battery as well. Then you have AC in your tent at night. So all these things are going to go back and forth, and depending on what your mission is for camping. My objective in this build is I want to be as comfortable as home. So maybe I want to run this heater all night long. I'm still going to have no problem doing it. Now I get to the next day, I got to make sure I have some solar to charge this back up. Then I've got my heater again for the next night. So it all comes down to watt hours and what you're going to do. If you're going to do induction cooking, know about what it's going to take for you to boil some water for your dinner, for a mountain meal or something like that, or cook bacon and eggs in the morning. As long as you've got solar, great. If you get to a situation where you're just going to have a really bad solar day and it's just dark, we do have backup gas equipment in here, and you'll see it on the Molly panel. We've got an MSR burner, small light stuff that is really just a backup. And in some cases it may be that if I wake up in the morning and I don't want to use my power here and I'm just going to make some coffee or something, I might use that burner. But we got even better stuff. We've got some coffee makers in one of the episodes coming up that are awesome, that you don't need any of this power. Or maybe I'm camping out one night in one location and we're all going to fly to another location. Well, now I just have to know that, well, while I'm flying, and I'm going to be charging up my battery while we're flying. So all this stuff is just something you have to keep in mind if you want to get into this kind of all electric camping. I can tell you it's worth it. It makes it easier, it's simpler, cleaner, faster for me to just jump in the plane and go. I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff that I typically would need to think about if I'm going out and doing just traditional camping. Now you're going to see a lot more about all of this lithium stuff as we do some of the trips and some of the camping and things. All right, so let me talk about a little bit of safety items when it comes to lithium ion batteries. Lithium ion batteries, not lithium solid state. Lithium ion, because I know that's a topic that's in a lot of people's heads out there, and some people get freaked out about flying with a battery that might be this size, even though they're getting better and better. There's a few things you can do. Have them half charged. I know, you might think, well, that's crazy. I always have my phone charged, or I always have my iPad charged. It's different in these. But when it comes to stuff that's a little bit bigger, if you fly with these being half charged, like 50%, there is a significant difference in safety. In most cases, you won't get a thermal runways on these when they're half charged, unless there's some other circumstances going on. Also, how you store these can be a big difference. If there's batteries with poles or something that's sticking out, or somewhere its wires can get in there or touch it or ground them out, that is a safety issue. That's where most of the issues come. Somebody stick this in a bag, there's wires and stuff in there, and stuff starts to connect. If you have to put some duct tape or something on here, you can, or just get it in a bag in a way that nothing's touching. That'll make a big deal from a safety standpoint. I'm in an aircraft right now that if I've got something going on with a battery or something like this right behind me, I can land it in somebody's yard, no problem, in a matter of 30 seconds to a minute or a couple of minutes. If I'm up in a King Air or a jet or something, I might make sure these are down below 50%. That eliminates a huge amount of risk. If I'm in this plane, I'm probably not that concerned about it. These batteries will be right behind the pilot seat in a raised floor, because we built a whole carbon fiber raised floor for this aircraft. Go check out that video, it's pretty cool. We make the mold, we create the panel, put the legs on it, and that's right there. And right behind it will be secured down is this lithium battery, and then a little tray that if I want to have a couple of lithium batteries are right there. If I need to get down low and over a lake or something and drop that out of there, which is not legally okay, but if I get an emergency and I've got to take a little battery or something that's got a runaway and I need to just get it out, I can. Or I'm just going to land the plane because I can do it. So mindsets are different depending on the plane you're in. But one thing I don't do is I don't put any of this stuff way back in the plane that I can't access it. These are just some best practices based on how you fly, what you do, that you can think about and how you're going to set up your camping build if you do that. I've got an extended solar panel, so if I want, I can have these solar panels out a little bit, because you know, if we're in the trees or you get the mountains at Jackson Creek on one side but not the other, I can get these out a little bit more, maybe turn them. So I do have a little bit extra weight by having an extension here. I think this is about a 40-foot extension to solve that problem with my solar panels. We have to manage how much power we can take off of our alternator and send it back to this 50 amp charger. Now, obviously, we're not going to pull 50 amp because this is a 40 amp alternator. I actually might upgrade this, which we can do, to a 60 amp alternator. This is what the FAA regulations say, is that you're only allowed to take 40% of your alternator output for things like that at level, straight and level cruise flight. Why are we using this one from Victron? Is because, number one, this is an experimental aircraft, but there are other units like this that will do exactly what I'm about to tell you, that are certified that you can put in these airplanes. This has an app with it where we can control and create all kinds of other safety features on it. We can control how much power we're pulling to use this, so we can say to this, max out at 15 amps or max out at 20 amps. Don't pull any more than 15 or 20 amps. And there's also other safety features that you can build into the app on this to keep the aircraft safe. The reason I have the accessory switch on a separate bus, which is also a 40 amp breaker, it's a 40 amp accessory switch breaker that goes to the back, is I can isolate any issues from here back. Why I say that from here back is because we also have Starlink that's in the airplane. You can go watch that install. We have a Starlink switch in here. We have camera switches in here that'll turn off, on and off our cameras. But we can isolate anything from this firewall back. So if I see that there's an issue or there's anything going on, I just go in that accessory switch or the Starlink switch, shut those off, and that separates the aircraft from the rest of the airplane. Those are just some safety things we put in it. You're gonna see more and more. You can go watch all the episodes as we do these installs. And we're gonna go ahead and take all the battery stuff off the table. And now we're gonna get into heating and cooling the tent. Let's start with these heaters. Why I chose the LF Bros. There's a few reasons. One, and probably the most important reasons, are these caps, these fuel caps. A lot of these diesel heaters leak. They don't have caps on them that lock, just like a car gassed cap. Like you'll see these seal up. The seal's in here and you'll hear it click. So when we're putting these on, they're clicking. These are the only ones I've found so far that don't leak. Why is that important? Because I'm picking these up and I have to maneuver them to get them into the back of the aircraft, or I gotta tilt them a little bit to get them in. The other reason is if I'm in turbulence or something like that, I've already seen friends where their heaters and stuff, they pull it out and there's fuel all over the sides of it and things. This is probably one of the most important reasons that I like the LF Bros, okay? Second reason is they're light. This one is extremely light. These are not heavy at all. We're talking 7 pounds, you know, and then you'll also see our roto packs. These mount on the MOLLE panels in the back of the aircraft here. So we got water back there and we got our fuel back there. So the roto packs are the fuel that we bring for these. The other reason I like these over some other ones is I can get fuel for these at any airport. So if I'm fueling up the plane and I say, hey guys, I need a couple gallons of jet fuel, then these will run on jet fuel. Not only can I use these to heat the tent all during the night, but I can be heating my engine during the night at the same time. We're gonna talk about that in a second. As soon as I get out of tent, take this here out of my tent, I turn around, I put it right up under my engine, and I heat my engine. So this is a huge advantage if you're in some really cold weather, you know, below 40 or especially below 20. Not only are you heating your tent all night, but you can pretty much put this in here for an hour when you're getting ready to go, and an hour is definitely gonna heat your engine. Now, of course, you're gonna have to plug it up and stuff like that. I mean, this by itself is not as good as like a Janitrol or some of the big heaters that you're gonna put some gas on, but number one, I don't have the gas with me. Number two, I don't have that big heater just to heat my engine. Let me talk about some of the differences and stuff here. This one here is the N4. So the N4 is probably gonna be better for you if you're just, you know, one night somewhere, or you're at low altitudes or something like that. It's very light. It's also if you don't have a lot of space. This is a little bit bigger on this one. This is the N2-T. They're not equal. Don't go on Amazon, like I said, and just find the cheapest one. There's big differences here. Some things I don't like about this one is you got your exhaust and things like that are coming out the bottom. So there's feet that go on here. You'll see you got a kit that comes with it. You got feet that go on here, and then it's standing there, and then your exhaust comes out underneath there. The controller for this is built into this unit here. This is your intake, then this is your heat. So you're gonna have your heat going in your tent or your camper, your overland vehicle, whatever it may be. So that's how this one works. It's really small, compact. This is the unit I suggest for a build like this, or if you're going aircraft camping. This is called the Plateau version. You can fly with this one and camp as high as 17,000 feet. It has an automatic fuel air mixture system in it that adjusts for high altitudes like that. The other thing I like about this particular one is it has a remote screen on it. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this one on, and it's gonna start up right there. Now, this remote screen gives you the ability to make all kinds of adjustments and things, but more importantly, it's a thermostat is in it. So I can have this outside. It'll be probably underneath the aircraft over here somewhere. The hose will go into the tent, so the exhaust is kind of away. The other reason I put it out over here is then when I wake up in the morning, I just take the hose, it's right under the engine. I can start to heat the engine, but also this gets really hot. You'll see the exhaust that comes out of here. It's exhaust for a minute as it's heating up, but then it's just really hot air that's coming out of this, and this gets really hot, which is why I have it on wood here on the table, because when we start this up, you see how quiet it is and how much it's running. You can be heating your engine throughout the night with the heat coming out of this exhaust, something that I think is a big advantage. Then the thermostat is run and is inside your tent. The other thing I like about it is it comes with a remote. Now this one also has a remote for on off. This one has a remote for on off and temperature. So if I'm in the tent and I want to turn it off, or if it's too hot or whatever, I just hit the remote from inside the tent and the thermostat is in there with it. You've got 110 as we're testing it here, though I'm showing you 110, but if you watched what we talked about the lithium battery and all that, we can actually wire this to the lithium battery and just be 12 volt, just like this. Now this is not drawing a lot of watts. You'll see that I think to start it up, you might get 40, 50 watts for it as it's getting going and starting up as it is going right now. But then after it heats up and it's where it needs to be, it's gonna drop down into the 30 amps, I should say. It's starting to go and I can just hear the pump. Now, I'm gonna put the mic down there so you can hear it and see how quiet this really is. You can barely hear that little pump. Now, that pump isn't running like that all night. That's just running right now to get it primed and to get the unit going. So this is where my hose is gonna go, that's then gonna go into the tent, right there. This is an intake that is obviously on the outside. Now, if you're in some really cold weather, then you can also put an intake hose on here that would pull air from inside your tent back out to the unit, heat it up, and then send the hot air back in. And now this thing's already running, so you can see how quick that started running when we got it going. Right now it's on really high because I've got it on the highest it can go to see how loud we can get it, because I want you to be able to hear how quiet this is. Very, very quiet. Probably hearing more of the outside ambient noise more than you're hearing this heater. This unit is really hot. You cannot keep your hand in front of that. So that hot exhaust coming out of there can really easily heat your engine. Now, you can have this on a couple of different modes. One, it can be on temperature mode. So you can change the temperature what you want inside there. But then you can also do power mode, where if you want it to be really just blowing as hard as it can and as hot as it can, you can hit this button, go to power mode, and you can dial up the power mode and it'll get louder. And then that's what I'm gonna do, when you wanna heat the engine. So if you want it to just be really low and not on temperature mode, so maybe during the day or something, you just wanna kind of keep the chill out of the tent, I can take the power mode way, way down to low, and then it doesn't work on temperature, but at least it keeps a little bit of the chill out. And that is high power mode right now. Then I can hit the button, go back to temperature mode, and now I can control the temperature. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the remote off. Now you can see it's going into off mode, and it has to cool it down. So it's gonna still pull air in and run a little bit until this cools off. I suggest you want the Plateau version for airplane camping, because we're usually up in the mountains and things like that. This thing works great. Exhaust can be heating your engine. You're in the morning, this can be heating your engine, and this will go all night, no problem. If you're gonna be camping for 3, 4, 5 days, well, you might need to take a little bit extra fuel. If you're just out for a night or two, you're probably only gonna need the fuel that's in here. Or if you wanna do extended and you don't wanna take fuel, well now, depending on how you camp, like in overland and off-roading, sometimes what we'll do is we'll just take the chill out of the tent before we go to bed. We'll get into bed, turn the heater off, and then in the morning before we get out of bed, we'll turn the heater on, let it run for 10, 15 minutes, take the chill out of the tent again, and then we get out of bed. With this and fuel, you could get easily 4 or 5 nights out of this unit. Depends on how you camp and what you do. Now in this build, we got a hut tent. A hut tent means you got a stovepipe that goes out of the top of the hut tent. I will tell you, if I'm burning pellets, I'm okay with the tent being a little bit close to the plane. I probably still wouldn't put it right here. I'd probably still move it away from the plane a little bit. But if I'm burning wood, especially that has bark on it, and like one of the titanium little burners or something like that, I will not have it close to the plane like this with a fabric covered plane, because you can see sometimes there's ambers coming out of it and they do rise and stuff, but you know, you've got the danger of, you know, that coming down on top of the plane and burning holes in the plane and stuff. So if I'm ever using wood stoves inside the tent, a hut tent, I'm moving this thing way away from the plane. I'm going to talk a little bit more why this tent, why exactly where it is, why this exact format that it's in, how it's set up. We got a whole video on campground and what we're doing and how we're setting up our campground. Very strategic on how we're building all that stuff out. So make sure you follow along and go through all of the videos and all the content we're doing on this build. You might learn a lot of really cool stuff, but more important, let us know products that you might know about that we don't, that you think we should know about, or some comments or thoughts about the products that we're showing you through this whole camping build. Please like and subscribe and let us know if you want more of this content. So thanks everybody for this one. This was just a series on heating the tent, cooling the tent, and the power system and solar for our camping build. So go check out our other videos and we'll see you on the next one.